You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community. I'm your host, Sean Paul Leek, and this is Rope Break Family. Happy Thanksgiving. Even on Thanksgiving, Rope Break has to work, but I'm here. We're going to be real quick. I don't want to take up much of my time, much of your time, but we got to do the AEW Dynamite review. And this show was actually, a really good show. Past couple of weeks, Dynamite has been really good, and this week was no exception. Some good matchups. Especially the main event was really good. The opening match was really good. And even the women's match, which was for the AEW Women's Championship, was a good match. It was actually, I enjoyed it more than the one we saw at the pay-per-view. But let's get right into it. But before that, again, like we always do, thank you to, the Rope Break family for all your support, especially on a day like today. So the first match was Hangman Adam Page versus John Silver. This was really good. Before the match, they did a little thing like the Dark Order is like, oh, we really like you, Hangman. We want you to join, blah, blah, blah. Just, that's the new storyline for Hangman Page. But this match was really good. The whole thing was just, who's the stronger man? They said, they compared Silver to a bowling ball. He's like short, but he's really like dense and strong and powerful. Hangman, obviously, the bigger opponent. And the one thing to note, he didn't come out with no beer or nothing. He's not drunk. They got rid of that gimmick. So now clearly they built him up just to go all the way down. And now he's making his ascent, hopefully, to the top. But like I said, this match is really good. Lots of chops, kicks, really hard suplexes. At the end of this thing, though, Hangman hits a Liger bomb and Silver kicks out, which sets up for the buckshot lariat. 1, 2, 3. Really great, hard-hitting match. Like I said, the right winner here, obviously, Hangman Page. When this is over, though, the Dark Order enters the ring. Evil Uno tries to convince Hangman to join the Dark Order. He's kind of putting down the Elite, saying that they're the real cult, not them. And he tells Hangman that, hey, if you change your mind, you know where to find us. So good there. Like I said, that's going to be the new storyline for Hangman, for him to build his way up eventually to title contention. So then we get Kenny Omega. He's interviewed backstage by Marvez. He says that a year ago, he was nursing injuries from a war against Jon Moxley. Now that Moxley is the one injured, and he says that Moxley has something that he wants, and that's the AEW title. It's the one accomplishment that he needs to be considered the best in the world. He tells Moxley to leave the garbage wrestling at home. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to forget this. Congratulations, to you and your wife, and the story about your dad and everything. He's like, I don't think your dad's as tough as you say he was, and my dad could probably kick your dad's ass. So, again, really trying to get under Moxley's skin for this. Good promo by Kenny Omega. Went a little bit too long, I thought. But for Kenny Omega's standards, pretty good promo. Then we get Powerhouse Hobbs, the new name for Will Hobbs since he joined Team Taz, going against Lee Johnson. Taz was on commentary, putting down just, the Nightmare Family and Cody as a whole. He had the FTW Championship with him. Taz did. He said he has some business to take care of after this match. This was just done to show off Hobbs. He had new gear, new entrance theme, I believe, but the new gear, like a black and orange singlet. And he also had like the towel. It wasn't over his head. It was more just, it was like torn. It was almost just like a poncho, looked almost like. So very reminiscent of Taz's ECW gear. Really cool. This is the right move for Will Hobbs. And obviously this match was just to showcase this because he hits a huge, almost like power slam, like a gorilla press power slam right onto the mat. 1, 2, 3. He wins this thing very easily. So then after the match, Taz cuts a promo. He's complaining that AEW refuses to acknowledge the FTW title. He demands that someone in management, comes out. So his microphones keep getting cut. He asks for Justin Roberts' microphone. They eventually cut that. Then Cody comes down. He's like, hey, this is done. He tells Taz to move on. He said next week it will be Powerhouse Hobbs and Rick Starks against Cody and Darby Allin. And then Cody asks why, he's like, because he said something around the lines of like, well, this FTW championship is worth so much and you're so good, then why does your son train with me and not with you? So then Taz says that, he took this way too far, and he gets pissed off, and then, he's like, Taz is just, you can tell he's just like, okay, this went from work to shoot. He's like, you took this way too far. And then Taz starts to walk out of the ring. Cody turns around. Taz puts the Kachahajime on him. So that was legit. He starts to choke him out. And then some other management, I believe, or some other people come to the ring. It was actually Billy. It was the Nightmare Family. That's right. They come to the ring, and or the Gun Club rather. They come to the ring to try to chase off Taz, and he's actually there with his son. So then they grab the FTW championship and they leave. So that's a cool storyline. Juan always loves the soap opera stuff. So whenever you bring in somebody's son or family and stuff, it makes the storyline feel a little bit more legit. So that's what they did there. So that was pretty good. I did like that. So then Eddie Kingston, he's being interviewed by Marvez, and he's disappointed in the Lucha Brothers. Obviously, he's like, oh, my ex-best friend, Penta. Hey, I didn't think that he would do this to me. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. He's like, in Phoenix, he likes doing that flippy bullshit, so that doesn't surprise me that he jumped ship with Pac. So then Moxley interrupts Kingston's promo. He gets in his face. Kingston's like, dude, you think it was me? I got we're done. We had our thing. It's done. We moved on. I'm dealing with my own shit. He's like, clearly you're dealing with your own shit. He's like, if that was me who attacked you, you wouldn't be standing here. So Moxley's like, all right, we're good. He walks off. Kingston's like, hey man, I'm just trying to be in a good mood today. I don't need this negative energy. So then he walks off. That ends that little interview. Then we get Top Flight, Darius and Dante Martin versus the Hybrid 2. This match was pretty good, mostly because of Top Flight. I'm a real big fan of these guys, and they're extremely undersized, but I think that can play to their gimmick because now they were 2 very good matches and they lost both of them. So even though Private Party's kind of skinny, they're taller at least. So they kind of, their skinniness isn't as noticeable because, they are muscular and they're taller and stuff. So they appear bigger, but these 2 guys are short. They're lean, but they're very skinny. They get each afford to maybe gain 20, 30 pounds, of muscle, kind of bulk up a little bit. And don't be John Silver. Don't be the meat man, but you can bulk up a little bit. But this match was really good. I already think they're better wrestlers, than Top Flight, and they can dive and it looks a lot better. But a couple spots in here I didn't like when it's clearly set up cooperation, hold on, can you hold me while I do this and do that? And it didn't look good, but this was still a good showing for Top Flight. I really enjoyed it. At the end of this thing, though, Dante reverses a Splash Mountain from Angelico into a Code Red. Evans takes out Darius on the floor, and Angelico applies an Indian Deathlock on Dante for the win. So, again, Top Flight looks good, but they're putting over these other teams just to kind of hopefully be that underdog, come from behind team eventually when they win. They would be a perfect team to eventually build up to be tag team champions. Hopefully they don't, drop the ball with the Lucha Bros the Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express like they do with this team. But after the match, TH2 starts to beat them down. So then the Bucks come in, they make the save and chase off TH2 and save Top Flight. So that might be the next mini feud for the Young Bucks would be against TH2. And speaking of tag team feuds, then we show a video package of FTR. They don't care how good the match was with the Bucks. They said it was the worst night of their lives because they lost. And they said only for 3 seconds the Young Bucks were the best tag team in the world because FTR still believes they're the best tag team. And Tully Blanchard, he says that the Young Bucks, he promises that FTR will be the tag champs again. The Young Bucks should fear the revelation, FTR. So good promo. I really enjoyed that. Then we get the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus SCU, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. This was cool. First time Christopher Daniels and Chris Jericho actually wrestled each other. So that I really, I didn't know that fact. That was pretty cool, 57 plus years, I think they said. So it's cool to see these guys in the ring. I would have rather seen it maybe in 2004, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. This was really good. Hager looked strong in this. Kazarian to me is the star of the show. He's pretty much a star in every match he's in. Extremely underrated. JR even said those exact words on commentary. So, I enjoyed this. Jericho, he looked good. And Christopher Daniels, he hit the best moonsault ever, which I like that spot. Every time he hits a moonsault now, I feel good especially with that botch that he had in that match with Penta, I think last year. But, I really don't have any problems with this match. And the right winners won because they did it in a dirty way. Because Daniels lands the best moonsault ever on Jake Hager, like I had mentioned, but Jericho breaks it up. Then MJF hits Daniels with the diamond ring. Jericho hit the Judas effect, all while Aubrey Edwards had her back turned. And then that allows Jake Hager to come in and pin Christopher Daniels for the 1, 2, 3 since he was the legal man. So really good match. And then because of this, you have Frankie Kazarian, he's pissed off. So then, actually, let me get to this before I get to that. After the match in the Inner Circle, they start to beat up SCU because they're pissed off. We almost lost. We had to cheat to win, whatever. So they start beating them up. Scorpio Sky comes down with a steel chair, chases them off. I didn't like that as much because he came out with a steel chair, not a gun. There's still 7 of you versus 3. I don't care if he has a steel chair. You should still be able to just, beat him down. But it was a good way to make the save, so he chased them off. And we're going to see a match next week between Chris Jericho and Frankie Kazarian, and that will also be the first time that they wrestle, at least in a singles competition. But then we see Kip Sabian and Miro. They're supposed to debut their new video game segment, probably just another shot at WWE because of the Twitch thing. So, that was what it was, but that wasn't the point of the segment, because before they can begin, they start to brawl with the best friends outside, like kind of like the trailers, everybody's like dressing room area, whatever, outside. So they start beating each other up, knocking over cameras, Miro screaming, going crazy, clearly tearing apart the best friends. So that was decent. At least we didn't have to see some cringy video game segments. So we get Tony Schiavone in the ring for the second attempt at the contract signing between Moxley and Omega. And so Schiavone's there. Kenny Omega has his long, drawn out Justin Roberts entrance. And then before he can actually, come through the tunnel, you see somebody attacks him, starts beating him up. It's Jon Moxley. So he throws him out. He eventually throws him over the table, takes the title, lays it on the ground. Paradigm shift on Omega. And then he cuts a very long-winded promo. It was good, but the fact that he cut this like 3-4 minute promo the whole time Omega is selling the injury, it's not like he got up and he's sitting in the corner like, okay, like, you son of a bitch, I'll get you next week. No, he's just laying there grabbing his neck the whole time selling it. So if he hits the paradigm shift and kicks out of it, it's like, well, how come it killed you here? But then, next week you're able to kick out of it. So that I didn't like how he sold it. Moxley should have cut a very quick, 20-second promo, boom, he should have paradigm shifted him, got in his face, like Stone Cold. You can't really hear what he says, just like yelling, screaming, flipping him the bird, grabs the mic and been like, oh, and by the way, my dad could kick your dad's ass, and like throw him the mic, kind of call back what Kenny Omega had said in the promo earlier, and walked off. But it was still a good promo despite it was very long. He signs the contract, and we have that match official for next week. So we get the Inner Circle there backstage. MJF is furious about Kazarian, punched him, and that's when Jericho officially challenged him, like I'd mentioned, to that match next week. So Jericho, Kazarian next week. I'm looking forward to that. Frankie Kazarian, like I said, big fan of his. I haven't seen a bad match with him yet. So then we get AEW World Women's Championship match, Hikaru Shida versus Anna Jay. And this was good. They actually had video packages and everything. They had a little bit last week with Anna Jay and Ty Conti. She said, I was a rookie when I faced you last time. Now I'm the Queen Slayer. And this week they had more of the same thing. And Hikaru Shida was like, you don't need all these new moves, these new names, gimmicks, all your friends. She's like, you're supposed to learn from your losses. You're not supposed to make excuses. And she's like, if this is what you learned, she's like, you didn't learn anything. You need heart to win. You don't need friends. You don't need to cheat. So really good. They had some music, little like video hype package for this match. And like I said, I liked this, and I thought this was more legit than the match we saw at Full Gear with Nyla Rose. Nothing against Nyla Rose, but that feud came out of nowhere, and it really had, the same amount of build as this did. So this was at least a fresh matchup. And this was very good. I think Anna Jay has improved, that we keep seeing her in matches, especially because she's wrestling on Dark more, and I'm sure she's training. A lot of members of the Dark Order are actually legit wrestlers trained by, my boy Brian Myers. So this was a really good match. And like I said, Anna Jay really impresses me every time we see her. Hikaru Shida is the AEW World Women's Champion for a reason, because she's one of the most legit women on this roster. And she doesn't even really have, she's not a very a veteran in the business, I would say. Her career is still pretty young. So that's good. And this was hard hitting, for both these women as well. I love the spot at the end where they go to the same thing with the chair. Anna Jay says to Ty Conti, give me the chair. And she's like, no, I don't want to. She's still kind of like, is she babyface? Is she heel? And she eventually gives her the chair, and she goes to, turn around. The ref grabs it, like, what are you doing? So then while the ref takes the chair away from her, and it goes to throw the chair out of the ring, it was all a diversion, because one of the other Dark Order members throws Anna Jay a kendo stick. So she whacks Hikaru Shida in the injured knee, but Shida kicks out. So that spot I really liked. Then she puts the Queen Slayer on her, and then you thought, oh shit, this is it, it's over. But she rolls out of that, hits a straight jacket German suplex, a forearm strike, and then the Tamashii knee strike. and she retains. Really good match. After this thing, Abaddon comes down, grabs the title, like has a mouthful of that fake blood, licks the title. Boom. Now we go next feud. Cut right to the chase. Abaddon's been getting a lot of wins on Dark, so it makes sense for her to be the next challenger. It's a fresh matchup, but that's the thing. It's on Dark. It's not on regular AEW. So, if you don't really watch Dark or pay attention to at least the results, you're like, why the hell is this woman get a title shot? But, there you go. Now you have your answer. Watch Rope Break. We have all the info. So then we get Matt Hardy. He cuts a promo backstage. He's kind of heelish in this promo. He's pretty much saying like, hey, look at everything I had to go through in 2020. If I can make it through, so can you. Stop crying about your little mundane problems. Nobody cares. And he's like, hey, come watch me next week. I'm legit. So very heelish, they don't know what they're doing with Matt Hardy. When Matt Hardy, if you don't really analyze it, you're just like, oh, it's Matt Hardy. And what he's saying is cool because it's Matt Hardy. He was like, oh, I'm one of the most innovative people in wrestling, just putting himself over, being cocky. But if you really think, how many times in the past couple months have they changed what they want to do with Matt Hardy? Because they don't know. So that, to me, kind of kills it a little bit. But at least in a heel gimmick and a role, hopefully he stays with that. And don't put him near the inner circle. Make him be a heel on his own. If he somehow works his way to the inner circle, then this is all shit. But, let's not hope that, hopefully by me saying it doesn't put it into the universe, but we'll see. So next week, they have a Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. I don't know what that's going to be, for, if it's a number one contender for, the Kenny Omega, John Moxley winner, or what that's for, but we'll see. Then we get Chris Jericho versus Frankie Kazarian, Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Britt Baker versus Lila Hirsch, and John Moxley versus Kenny Omega for the world title. So loaded card next week. And we also saw a promo by Darby Allin. He pretty much had just like a survive if I let you, face a TNT, all this stuff spray painted on a car. He had like a trail of gasoline, lit the car on fire, just typical Darby Allin promo. And then we also saw one from Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. And she said that, she pretty much said that Brandy, she needs to learn the definition of nepotism. And then she explained how Brandy Rhodes just, she brings all these people in that are her friends and gets them a job and tries to influence them to do her bidding because they're her friends and she got them a job and everything. And she's like, look at what happened when you got beat down last week. She's like, that wasn't me. I wasn't twisting anybody's arm. So like, it's just trying to teach Brandy Rhodes a lesson. Decent promo by Vicky, but the main thing, is just I don't really care about anything with Brandy Rhodes. That's the main thing, to be honest. And anything she's in, it doesn't feel legit to me because she's not a legit wrestler. She's the same thing with Matt Hardy. Comes out one week, it's like, oh, we're doing the baby face thing, or oh, now we're doing the heel thing. Oh, now we're doing the tag team thing. Oh, now we're doing the manager thing. It's Brandy Rhodes is like, we just have to put her on TV, or she just wants to be on TV, and they don't care what capacity. They don't care if it makes sense from week to week. So that's how I feel. But speaking of how I feel good because we are at the main event. Butcher and Blade versus Pac and Ray Phoenix. Eddie Kingston on commentary. AEW just loves having 1,000 people on commentary. Kingston's good, but now the new gimmick is that he just shits on Excalibur, shits on Shivani, and tries to get in little arguments with him. And Jim Ross and Excalibur are really the only ones trying to call the match here. But this was really good. Butcher and the Blade, especially with the bunny at their side now. And the past couple of weeks, I've noticed they're really starting to move up. I'm not going to say, oh, they're going to challenge for the belts or they're going to win the belts anytime soon, but they're being portrayed a lot better than they were, you could say, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. So I really like that because the Butcher and the Blade, to me, a legit team. You had the bunny with them and everything. That completes the look, completes the package. They never should have lost her to begin with, but there you go. Like what I said earlier, that's the whole Brandy Rhodes effect. So, Brandy trumps all. But this was good. Obviously, Ray Phoenix and Pac, big fan of them. Death Triangle, really glad to see them back. This was good. Really hard hitting, very long match. They gave it a lot of time, which was good. But at the end of this thing, let's just skip ahead. The Blade follows up. He hits a doctor bomb onto Pac, and then Phoenix breaks up the pin attempt, and then Kingston runs down because he sees his boys are in trouble. So he knocks Phoenix off. He's in the corner thing on like the second rope. So he knocks him down. Butcher and the Blade hit a double team power bomb cutter on Phoenix, or neck breaker rather, for the 1, 2, 3. So Phoenix actually eats the pin. Butcher and the Blade win, which I like because it kind of continues this feud. And then after the match, Eddie Kingston's, his crew, they start beating down Death Triangle. And Kingston DDT's Pac onto a chair twice. But Lance Archer and Jake the Snake, they come out. Lance, runs into the ring to make the save. He knocks them out. Kingston bails. Archer, he wants to fight, and they stand tall as Dynamite comes to an end. So the most unlikely of allies. And then that sets up, you have the Butcher and the Blade and Kingston. But then you have the, 3 members of Death Triangle and Lance Archer now. So, maybe what is Penta hurt? I don't think so. Clearly Pac and Phoenix aren't hurt. So I don't know if there's going to be a 4th man now to Eddie Kingston's group or what they're going to do. I don't know what Lance Archer's game is. Is this something they don't know what to do with him and they just want him featured on TV? So here we go. Because I was fine with just the 3 versus 3. So we'll see where this whole thing goes. I hope Kingston, he adds another guy to the group to make this even. Otherwise, clearly the baby faces, if you even want to call Lance Archer and Pac baby faces, clearly they're going to go over. But we'll see where this goes. I enjoyed this episode of Dynamite a lot. I did enjoy it more than NXT. I thought overall the show had a lot more legit stuff going on. The Taz and the Cody thing. It didn't feel as legit to me because I'm like, I don't really care about this. Just Cody inserting himself to the Darby Allin, mid-card title picture. But then when they brought up the Sun and everything, that kind of made it good. And in the main event, Kenny Omega, John Moxley, the world title picture is good. Abaddon and Hikaru Shida should be an interesting matchup. Tag team division is looking good. Addition of Top Flight. Good to hear from FTR and their promo. They're not going anywhere. At least it seems for the time being so. Solid episode of Dynamite. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will have NXT UK probably sometime later tonight, maybe tomorrow, up today. We will see how that goes, family. And, of course, follow us on all the social media. Facebook, our Rope Break on Facebook, OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram right here for the #1 podcast, the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Eck. Guys, thank you so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time.